Boston had one early in the game.
What's up, Cowboys Nation? How you guys doing tonight? Thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate you guys hitting us up on this Wednesday evening. As you guys know, as always, your girl Craving Cowboys in the building. As always, I got my sis StarChasers Sports in the building. How you doing tonight, sis?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Glad to see y'all. Glad to be here for another episode of StarChasers. Y'all know it's always a great time when we get together. Shout out to everybody in the chat, JV B-Boy, Nisi, Kelvin. We know there'll be more of you guys coming in, but we really appreciate you guys' support, rocking with us, as y'all do pretty much every Wednesday. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Star is right. Yeah, these are people that's in the building all the time. Like you said, Nisi, Kelvin, and as always, we're gonna have our faves coming through as we continue the conversation about our Cowboys. For another episode of StarChasers, we figured we go ahead and start off with these offensive position battles. Of course, we know with camp coming up in I think just maybe just a few weeks, maybe even just a couple weeks from now. We just had the holiday weekend going by and.
2 weeks.
As we see, 2 weeks. Today's actually the 9th. There'll be no training camp starts. I believe on the 20th. They report on the 20th, and I believe the first day of practice is the 21st or 22nd. So it's definitely coming up quick. So I'm definitely excited. Before we actually jump right into the conversations. What's your thoughts? What's your what's your emotions about camp? Since it's pretty much right around the corner, we're seeing guys, doing their off-season preparation as we did, a show a couple, last week, as you, just so eloquently named it, honestly, because, we talked about it last week, this is a different off-season for the Cowboys. We've seen some different preparation, just from some different systems, some different, culture, if you guys will, new head coach, all that, just what your emotions are going into camp and how excited are you, as we're seeing players kind of get ready for the camp coming up.
Yeah, I'm super excited for camp. I think that, there's a lot of position battles. Going to be a lot of competition. I'm just interested to see, how is camp going to be different under Shoddy than it was under Mike McCarthy. We have been rumored to have a kind of a weak camp, you know what I'm saying? Which I don't know how true that is, because I'm like, Mike McCarthy did always get fined because they said we were being too rough, but I still think that there's some changes and there's ways to make the camp just a little bit more competitive. You know what I'm saying? If your team is competition, I would like to see some differences, you know what I'm saying, between how you run the camp, just like how we see a difference in OTAs and we saw a difference in mini camp. I would like to see what that difference is, how it's going to look when we actually get to training camp. But I am super excited, one, just to see the guys get back on the grass. You know what I'm saying? I'm really excited
Facts.
about that. It's been a while. It's been a long off season,
Yeah.
but we're back. You know what I'm saying? We'll be back in 2 weeks. Finally, uh, getting back to football. You know, football season is near. We're about 2 months away from kickoff. I think because we play on Thursday versus the Eagles, so we open up this
Right.
season. Yeah, so we're about 2 months away from kickoff, and so it's just exciting. But yeah, I am looking forward to. We're gonna get into these position battles on the offensive side, and then next week hope to get to it on the defensive side. Um, but yeah, today we're excited to talk about position battles of the wide receivers as well as the running backs. Of course, we know the first two spots of the wide receiver position is locked up, but big
Right.
question mark is on who is going to be that wide receiver 3, who's going to be that wide receiver 4. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because those positions are going to be important in our offense, and then of course the running game is integral to our offense. If we want to see changes, if we want to see us be able to get further in playoffs, we have to have a running game. I don't care if we go undefeated with no running game. Once we get into the playoffs, I'm going to be expecting a quick exit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to
Yeah.
get like we did in 2023. Getting caught up with all the wins and all the extra time that we were sitting out because we were blowing people out, like, because there were clear holes and issues on our team, but we just didn't want to see it. But I'm not doing that again this year, or ever again. So definitely need some things to be solidified if we're actually going to have a chance to uh not only just get to the playoffs, but actually do something in the playoffs.
Right. I definitely agree with you, sis. And just a couple of points that you brought up that I love that you brought up. Number one, we brought up the difference between maybe some practices that McCarthy had in the past few years, vice what they'll look like this upcoming year. And actually, I know we're talking about offensive position battles this particular evening, but we're just going back over. Of course, there's not a lot of news coming out of DallasCowboys.com, but just kind of rewatching some of the interviews, rewatching some of the shows. I actually watched Mayor's Leopold's interview, and he was actually asked directly, if he could kind of, not negatively, but kind of spot out some differences between, what he'll think, just so far, I know it hasn't been really that much deep into camp practices, but as far as OTAs and even mini camp, what some of the differences that he saw. And even he said, running to the ball, the energy, what I'm saying, finishing plays. And we kind of talked about in previous weeks as well, sis. And just another point that you kind of brought up. And I kind of rewatched one of the episodes of Talking Cowboys. Of course, we know with Kyle Yeomans, Patrick and O.C. Walker, I believe Josh Rodriguez, and one other cast member. Please forgive me for forgetting right now, but they actually talked about that topic about maybe certain players, positions that may benefit from them bringing in George Pickens, right? And you actually just mentioned just now, sis, a lot of them brought up, CD, kind of some of the, I don't want to say obvious answers, but Dak Prescott, CD Lamb, even Patrick O.C. Walker brought up Jake Ferguson, which was a great point. But I believe it was Kyle Yeomans who brought up the point of that it could actually, the final cast member is I just had his name. Tommy Yara. She's actually the final fourth broadcaster, and he actually brought they actually take off relief off the running game, and he actually mentioned that although you sometimes really the option really is to kind of establish the run game before you actually leave into the hands of operating off your two top wide receivers, but really it can also at the same time take pressure off the run game because you're not going to see defenses necessarily stacking the box, or you're going to have them see them maybe trying to cover CD, Jake Ferguson, Pickens, so you're actually going to have more room maybe to establish a run game. So that can actually I think that's a great point that you bring up about them being able hopefully be able, number one, establish a run game and actually be able to maintain that going throughout the season with the addition of George Pickens. And then as we get further into the show, I'm going to bring up another talking point from that show, since we are talking about wide receivers. A great point that Kyle Yeomans brought up about Pickens not only being able to solidify his role with the Cowboys, but it also being able to allow the other wide receivers in the room to kind of settle into their roles, saying not necessarily putting so much pressure into them. Well, we'll definitely get into that as we get more in depth into the wide receiver battles. But I love those points you brought up in the beginning of the show, sis.
Absolutely. And I think that, if on our graphic, on our thumbnail, I said that these players are on the hot seat. And in the 3 players that I had listed, Tyler Guyton at the top, then it's Miles Sanders.
Brooks.
And then
Sanders.
Miles Sanders and then Jalen Brooks. So I would like to segue into talking about Tyler Guyton. Because there was an article that Joe Hoyt, shout out to Joe. Y'all know he's a friend of the show.
Thanks.
Really appreciate Joe so much. Hopefully we can get him on again. Training camp. We had him on, I think it was like 2 months ago or like that. But he wrote an article because, you know, there have been question marks of who Tyler Guyton is training with and stuff like that earlier in the season. Then we do put out, he did a whole rollout. He put out an article, then he did an interview. I didn't get to listen to it, but
I just happened to see it today on Twitter too. I didn't realize he actually talked to 105.3 The Fan. I didn't realize it either.
Right, he actually talked to 105.3 The Fan and laid it out and talked about how all the differences and things between him and the previous coaching staff, and how him and now our current coaching staff, you know, Connor Riley, our offensive line coach, and Ramon Chin Young, our assistant offensive line coach, how everybody's now on the same page. And we talked about that last week on how all the offensive linemen have a set plan with Duke. They have to meet with him every day, Monday through Friday, you know, leading up to camp. But Tyler Guyton, as well as Tyler Smith, we talked about last week. We talked about their relationship as well, and how they've gotten closer, and how Tyler Smith has kind of just like really put Tyler Guyton under his wing, right? And so, but not only Tyler Smith, but Tyron Smith has taken a hands-on approach to Tyler Guyton, trying to get him prepared for this upcoming season. And so I'm gonna see if I can bring it up. Hopefully,
yes, facts. While she brings it up, shout out to DJ 100 Grand, just came in the building with us. Thank you, fam, for joining us. Really, really appreciate you. And make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, and share our video, please.
Yes, please. Oh, I forgot to say that, but yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us out, guys. I'm gonna try to see, because I know I can get it on my phone, but of course it don't want me to log in, and I chose I let the computer generate my password like a dumb.
Oh no! What are you trying to bring up?
Oh, just the article, but you have to have a Dallas Morning News subscription.
Right, that is right. Yeah, let me see if I can bring it up on bring it up on mine. I think I have the tweet favorited.
Right, so it's like you can't just.
Let me see. Actually, yeah. Well, I had the one that Nick Harris tweeted, the exclusive he said he tweeted, where he sat down retiring. But I know we went over that.
Yeah. So you know, guys, I'm gonna just try to maybe just put out some quotes here. Damn, I wish I had the password. But anyway, I'm gonna see if I could just basically, because that's like I could send you a screenshot or like clips of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that'd be too much to put into the show for right now. I should have did it before. I thought I'd be able to just access it. I did log
bring it up
through my Twitter. But I think basically what Tyron did, this was his first year. Tyron did an offensive line summit in Vegas. And so Tyler Guyton attended that summit. I'm sorry I can't really bring it up for you guys, because again, I don't know the password to this, and I basically have to get it from my computer. But he had a summit, and he talked about this part that I really want to go over, where he talked about, because everybody knows the best thing about Tyron Smith is what his punch, his hands. Everybody always says that. They say as soon as Tyron Smith gets his hands on you, it's pretty much game over. And so, we lost sis. I didn't even recognize that. What's up, Lou? What's up, DJ 100 Grand? I'm sorry, y'all. I think something happened to sis. She probably got kicked out. So I'll just scoot over here so y'all can see me. But anyway. So I'm going to read some quotes from y'all. This is an article. This is from Joseph Hoyt. Y'all can find it on his Instagram page. He's a reporter now for the Dallas Morning News. He was with DLLS Sports, but now he is at the Dallas Morning News. And this is an article that he wrote about Tyler Guyton working with Tyron Smith and how Tyron Smith has taken a hands-on approach to him. And so it says, Smith's hands were naturally gifted and nurtured to stop players in their tracks. That isn't teachable. The way he punched, however, is something he could share. He worked with Guyton on both independent one-arm punching, Smith's specialty, into hand punches. And then this is a quote. Sis is back. Okay. And this is a quote. We can't hear you, sis. Sorry, guys, we having some technical difficulties, but it's okay. We're gonna push through. But let's just get it figured out. Okay. But this is a direct quote from Tyron Smith. Okay. He said, I was trying to teach him my mindset and what I'm looking at and how I'm striking, Smith said. When he's talking about him, he's talking about Tyler Guyton. He said, and how to get that confidence when you strike. You need to know that you can punch through anybody and you can punch anything they throw at you. The main point is knowing your spots, knowing where to hit at, and having confidence in it. Then I said at the end of the day, it's more repetition and knowing your length. He's starting to understand, as in Tyler Guyton, is starting to understand where his spot is, where his length is, and where to punch and where not to punch, right? Then he says, I think it's going to be a different gameplay for him this year. Smith and Guyton never played together, but during their brief time together at the Star and at the big and beautiful BTL Summit in Las Vegas, Smith saw a young player who was doing the right things to improve. And then this is Tyron Smith again. It says, he said, I can tell he's taking it to a point where he wants to get better. He wants to improve and he just needs a little technique here and there, which he's honing in on right now in the same way as Tyler Smith. He has that raw talent and he just needs to learn how to use it, which he's doing now. So I think that that's amazing. I think a lot of people have been questioning Tyler Guyton. Is he it? People were saying we may should have drafted a left tackle. I hear people saying that Austin Richards may be coming for his spot, and that is possible. You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard much from about Austin Richards this preseason. This offseason. Right. But of course, that doesn't mean that he hasn't made games. He doesn't look good because sometimes the reporters just don't report on certain people because they don't care about them. You know what I'm saying? Or they're just, when I say they care about them, it's just that they're just not a name that many people are worried about. The name that everybody's worried about is Tyler Guyton. So I think that this is now, Shadi said he took a step, and even in this article, I don't know, maybe I can I'm gonna at least try to post a link in my chat to this article so y'all can at least have it that way, because I hate to just reading from somebody's content and I can't show it, unfortunately.
Yeah. I posted for mine too. I have it pulled up in the can you talk about the article where Tyron talked about working in the camp with them with Smith and Guyton?
What'd you say?
I said because the article you're talking about is where he was talking about working with Smith and Guyton.
Yes, where he was talking about working with Smith and Guyton, but I just focused on the part where he was focused on the part where he was talking about the specific work that he's doing with Guyton. I think that Guyton, what I was saying was Brian Schottenheimer said Guyton has killed it this offseason. He's focused a lot on his, they said even in the article, he's focused on his flexibility, changed his eating habits. So those were two things that he needed to get better at. And then I just read to y'all about how he's working on his punches, his hands, you know what I'm saying? Then last week we talked about Duke talking about that same thing, as well as his stance and maintaining proper balance so that he doesn't get off balance, so that he's not getting thrown to the ground because he's lunging. So Tyler Guyton is on the hot seat because I do believe that if he does not perform this year, that they're going to look to replace him. But I don't think that he's going to be replaced, because I think that he's doing everything that he was supposed to do this offseason in order to not only make sure that he's a quality starter, but to also make sure that uh, he's performing up to the standard, up to the Dallas
Yeah,
Cowboys left tackle standard,
yeah,
which is a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? And so that's
yeah.
why it's
And
very
he's
important.
there too, Sissy, and he's there actually getting appointed from him. It's not like, he's still with the Jets, off with another team, not able to be in contact with him. He's actually being able to actually work with them. So,
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
can get
Actually
the
doing
forward.
that direct. Exactly. Because now Tyron's retired. So really, you know, he has nothing but time now to sit here and do with us.
Facts.
And so I can at least share my screen to just show y'all Joe's page. I can't go directly to the article because it's gonna put that paywall. But this
Yeah.
is the article on Joe Hoyt. Uh yeah. So y'all see it here. That's his at. So y'all can go there, and then this is the article here. So y'all can read about it. But I think that it was a
Yeah.
great read. Shout out to Joe. Um, and yeah, please y'all go like that post that he made and share because I think it's an awesome article.
Yeah, and just to kind of add a couple points to that, just like I said earlier, I was kind of rewatching some interviews. Guyton also talked about, well, he talked about Smith kind of taking him underneath his wing, and he was kind of like an influence on how he changed his diet, kind of being in the gym and things like that, and kind of
Yeah,
rewatching Tyler Smith's interview. He talked about how he's going to take some of the younger old linemen even during the summertime, even though even despite the camp that Tyron held, even just working with the coaches, he was staying in contact with them. He said himself that he was going to take the younger linemen, guys like Booker, stay in contact with guys like Booker, guys like BB, guys like Guyton, who are still kind of coming along, into the second year. So for him to take the initiative of that. Now, actually, I don't know if I have the tweet up right now, but just to kind of reflect on the leadership that Tyler Smith is bringing to the line. I also have I seen the tweet earlier where he was, I think, working with a young kid where he took time out of his day and actually was able to put in some work. Let me see if I can bring up this tweet just really quickly to kind of showcase a little bit of Tyler Smith's leadership that he's kind of showing in this offseason at the same time while working with. Yeah, actually, let me share this right quick.
yeah. I think that um, Tyler Guyton, as Tyron said in the article, he has tremendous upside. He probably had the best upside of his rookie class, um, of his tackle class. Upside, not saying he was the best coming out. I had him graded
Right.
as a round pick, but I'm saying upside. He had probably the highest upside in his rookie class. So, the fact that now he's getting the proper development and coaching, because remember we spoke about how Mike McCarthy and Mike Solari did not want Tyler Guyton. They did not want him. He was a guy that they knew they had to develop, and remember they were all on prove it years, and so his development suffered tremendously. And clearly there was at odds with what they wanted to teach him, what Duke wanted to teach him. So it was just a mess. It was a whole mess. But we're glad that now that they've got that fixed. But
Yeah.
since that picture of just Tyler Smith, I'm glad that he took him under his wing, and then they
Yeah.
both went to Tyron Smith's camp, and that they're both looking to Tyron Smith as a mentor, someone who can help them, someone who can develop them, and just
Right.
make them better and get this line performing to standard. Because I think that our offensive line has been underachieving. They've underachieved
Yeah.
significantly under Mike McCarthy. I believe that the entire time under Mike McCarthy, the offensive line underachieved. Even in 2022 when we had a run game, we were still worse in the league in I think it was pass block win rate. So we've never been good. Our offensive line, which is integral or
Yeah.
piece to your team, was not good. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
Hits all the hits and deck injuries and all of this type of stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get that solidified, because if we get that solidified, then that's when we can truly return to dominance,
Yeah.
like we had been, Dak's rookie year and then before that.
Yeah, and with this one last note I want to take from the article about Tyron Smith, there was one quote that he actually had about Schottenheimer at the end. At the very end, he said, "quote He's always two steps ahead of what guys are thinking. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I can't wait to watch. And, just I know Tyron was kind of in and out the organization, in the past couple of years, but I think someone with that, someone with that insight, someone who's actually worked with Schottenheimer before he's actually be able to come to head coach. I think that just kind of shows that a veteran that mindset. Even Zach Martin, I think one of his interviews, I think last year before he officially retired, he talking about talking with Schottenheimer and the new coaches that were coming in, and if he were to stick around, just like how excited he was about the new run scheme and things that he wants to learn about them. So I mean, just hearing from two future Hall of Famers, just their opinion on the new coaching staff and the new head coach. I think it's right that that Cowboys Nation and that should have some kind of confidence going into 2025 with this offensive line and going forward.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And so I think that's good on guidance. I think from there we can kind of segue into talking about Dak's interview. I do have those clips from I believe it was on John Machota's I bookmarked them all.
Okay.
So listen to clips. Dak had his he has his annual camp. I think in Frisco or Frisco. Some of those, one of the part over there, Prosper, all of it, whatever. So he had his annual camp. I can't think of the name of the city, but he had his annual camp, and he really had said a lot of interesting things. One, update on his health. He feels really good. I feel like we don't really need to play that clip, but I think that a good clip, two clips to play that are good, is about George Pickens. Basically his relationship and what he's observed from George Pickens, and then also what he's observed between George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb's relationship. So I will bring it up now.
Also, shout out to JBB boy, you came in and joined us. Appreciate you, fam.
Shout out to you, JB. Appreciate you. Okay, so this is
not long.
This is Dak on why it's not going to take long for him and George Pickens to get on the same page and be ready for the play.
Not long. As I said, having dealt with the trades before, like Lamar, Cooper, Brandon Cooks, I mean, no turn on that guy's tape. He's getting separation. He's got separation. Even when he's not getting the ball at times, and hell, when he doesn't have separation, he's still making the catches. It's not going to be hard. For me, it's about getting that ball near that guy and letting him go be George Pickens and go turn on the tape. He's ready to do it.
So he was basically, I didn't mean to stop sharing, but basically saying not long. You know what I'm saying? And clearly, him and George Pickens have already picked up the chemistry because they've been working together now since OTAs through minicamp. Then they both went to. We love you too, JB. Appreciate
love you, man.
I got Rico, Stephen White came in. But they worked. Then they went to Georgia. That was interesting. This year, Dak and them went to Georgia. You see, last year they went to Colorado, or it's like Oregon
or something. Yeah, something like that.
Before that, I don't remember where they went. I think it's interesting that they went to Georgia because Georgia is hot as hell. You know what I'm saying? In the summer. So that kind of just gave me like maybe a mindset. Like Dak was like, instead of let's go into nice, beautiful Oregon where we can be out in the cool weather and ass Georgia and cook ourselves and like let's put ourselves in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, and you can see from the pictures of them sweating. You know what I'm saying? Just how much work they were putting in.
All that water they was drinking. And
exactly.
They was out there working. They wasn't out there lollygagging. You know what I'm saying? They were out there getting better, putting themselves in difficult situations. Well, at least I like to think so. But anyway, let me go to. Damn, I had it up. Bookmarked it. I think it's and then going to this is his comment on CD and George Pickens and their relationship.
Those two men, that's two guys that want the other guy to succeed just as much. That is literally the best part about those two men is seeing it firsthand, just them two hanging out and me the bystander, I go in the house purposely for a little bit, just picking at them. They love each other. They love each other's company. They love each other's game. They're just watching on the field, them talking to each other, to them just being one-on-one, like I said on the court, they're going to push each other. And to be the guy that gets to get them the ball, it's exciting as hell. Because you turn on the OTA tapes, and one of the guys, the ball's in the air, and the other one's got his hands up celebrating already. We just got to continue to grow that and continue to make sure that that's trending the right way. That's two guys that want the other guy to succeed just as much.
So clearly there he's speaking about, because people are like, well, how is that going to work out? Dak and CD, because they're both number one wide receivers, and for some reason there's just this narrative that if you got two really good players on your team, it's just not going to work out. I don't know why people say they just think it's not going to work out. It's not. I'm like, it's definitely going to work out. CD and George Pickens had a relationship before they even became teammates. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so so that's what keeps them together and not doing the tit for tat. You're competing, but you're competing healthily. You're not competing in a way where you're not celebrating your brother or celebrating your teammate when they're helping the team win. You know what I'm saying? Like CD is the one who said this at the beginning of the offseason. I need help. So he knows how important George Pickens is, and he's thrilled, and what he's trying to do is just get closer. And like Dak was like, I'll just go in there and I'll just observe them. They don't even know I'm watching them, but I understand what they're doing. And see,
you saw Dak showing his old head cap right quick. He's like, I kind of sit back and kind of watch him a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's like it kind of, for me, he kind of showed, his you know what I'm saying, kind of showed, not his soft side, kind of showed his fan side. Like the fans are really excited about seeing Dak and about seeing CD and George Pickens together. That's kind of how we feel. We love seeing them kind of build that relationship. Seeing CD have a wingman. I think because I think earlier later in the interview, he was asked about CD being there. It kind of being different than last year because CD wasn't able to go last year because of contract situation. So I think that's another kind of thing I kind of got from this interview. That's another nugget I kind of got, where he kind of talked about the maturation of CD and how he's kind of taking another wide receiver under his wing, because a lot of times we didn't really see CD really have contact or really spend a lot of time with the other guys in the wide receiver room, before Pickens showed up, right?
Exactly, because exactly what you said. The year before the year before this past year, he was holding out. So he, as soon as the 2022 or 2023 season ended, CD was at the building. He never returned. He never came back to the building until he was signed, literally. So that was him just away. He was away from the guys the whole time. And he spoke about that. He has a YouTube channel now. He showed his documentary and stuff. Yeah. He spoke about, he was like, I never want to go through that again. It was very hard for him. It was very depressing. I remember him even saying, there was a point where he almost broke. He was like, I almost broke, because it's just like, you're just missing so much time.
And like your other family outside your family, his guys, he feels like.
And we saw the consequences. We saw the consequences of sitting out. Him and Dak not on the same page.
Exactly.
And they pretty much wasn't on the same page at all in 2024. They had moments, but it was never like they were in 2023. And that's because they didn't get to work out the kinks and do all that other stuff they should have been doing.
It was like they were always playing catch up. Even Mike McCarthy just said, we're trying to get them together. We're trying to get, then they could get the rapport together. And it was like week 2.
Exactly. They were playing catch up, and he was behind on the install and all of that type of stuff. So it was just unfortunate, but you see how the camaraderie and everything comes together when the players can actually be together and not freaking worried about contracts.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the big point. We still have a contract out there. We got to pay Michael. We got to pay Tyler Smith, which I think you guys need to just, I don't know why the Joneses just love waiting until training camp, but we do know that Micah is going to be at training camp, because it's like Micah is following Dak's way. CD followed the way of Zach Martin and Ezekiel Elliott. Where you want to get paid, hold out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a great point, sis. I'm glad you bring that up.
Micah is doing the opposite, where he's like, listen, I know I need to get paid, but I can't afford to start off slow. That's why Micah has been here the whole offseason. That's why he went to OTAs. He was at minicamp, because he knows. I believe him and CD talked about it, because him and CD are close. And CD probably told him, like, bro, it really ain't. If our goal is to win a Super Bowl, it's really not worth it to sit out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not worth it because it's not hurting the Joneses that you're sitting out.
Yeah.
They don't care that you're sitting out. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna say, "Oh, it's more room for the young guys," because that's what they were doing with CD. Oh, we're not worried about paying him. We got the young guys here. We need to develop the young guys. So they don't care. It's you missing time, and when your stats are down, that's all they look at. They don't look at, "Oh, well, he sat out because we." But they don't look at that stuff. So that's why the players is like, you kind of have to make a decision. Because not everybody can sit out and come and be defensive player of the year. Actually, no one can do that besides Aaron Donald, who is 1-1.
Facts.
1-1. No one else can sit out a whole off season, come in season, be in game shape, and put up defensive player of the year numbers. Like that ain't really realistic. So I'm glad that Micah, even though he's not paid, he's still like, I'm going to be at camp. I'm going to be participating. I'm going to be building the relationship with my guys. We showed y'all last week about him doing his training with Lance Dean, the trainer here with Osa, Solomon Thomas, and I think it was Tommy Akingo-Sote was there at one point, and maybe Tyrus Wheat or whatever. Like, he's also had Denzel Jackson out there. So the guys have been out there working together, building bonds, and trying to get stronger together as a group. So I really appreciate that. But moving on to there's this viral video going around with Joe Milton throwing the ball far. I don't know why people are so obsessed with that, but whatever. I hate those videos, bro. I'm like, yeah. You know who else threw the ball far? Unpressured Zach Wilson. I remember those videos.
Right,
Zach Wilson, Anthony Richardson. I mean, Herbert got what, top 3 arm in the league? Arm talent, top 3 arm in the league, and what is he doing? What is he doing? I just don't care about throwing the ball far at pretty angles, but people love it. But anyway, it's interesting to see that, you know, Brooks is out there training, because y'all can see here. Shout out to Brandon Laura. Y'all know we always, I know y'all want the video. Here's the video, guys. Y'all can see Joe Milton throwing the ball far. Woo! Yay! Okay. Anyway, anybody think Joe Milton's like speed is kind of weird? I feel like he kind of like runs on his tippy toes, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, right there, he definitely did. Yeah.
I feel like it's like, because this looks good, boom, 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 hit. But like when he kind of like tippy toes when he runs forward, it's kind of weird. I don't know if that mattered. I would think that probably will keep you a little bit off balance, but he is a big dude.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't watch Joe Milton film like that to tell y'all all his flaws and what he's great at. I just know he's got a strong arm and yeah, he can throw full angle balls. But anyway, I think that it was interesting that Jalen Brooks was out there, because this is a guy that's definitely on the hot seat. And he's on the hot seat because I remember last year at training camp, they were saying Brooks was looking better than Tolbert. But then when we got into the actual season, who looked better?
Right.
Tolbert. You know what I'm saying? So Brooks is the guy. Now, I will say, I saw Jalen Brooks. I'm gonna give what's his name? Mingo. Yeah, no, not Mingo. Oh. Brooks. I'm talking about Brooks. I'm gonna give Brooks credit because I did see him. He was putting in work with CD's trainer. Now, granted, CD's trainer is his cousin who's now in jail for like 10 or 12 years for some crazy ass shit. Diamond, yeah, he's in jail for some crazy shit.
Oh, but Lord.
That was his cousin, also his trainer, and Brooks was working out with him before he ended up going to jail. So the fact that Brooks was actually doing, because what I say with Tolbert is I never see Tolbert like working out with any wide receiver trainers. I see him there when Dak is throwing and stuff like that. But I'm like, where is the work that you're putting in individually as a player? Because I see all the players are training. But I've still yet to see one training video of Jalen Tolbert at a camp, at a
outside the organization.
Yeah, outside of the organization. Yeah. Like, who do you train with? I haven't seen anything from him. So Tolbert is another question mark for me because I feel like he kind of is walking around here like he's just a man and he's got it locked down. And I feel like other wide
Yeah.
receivers are working. So I don't know, Tolbert. You better have, I don't know, maybe you just don't be on social media and you don't upload who you're training with, and that's fine. You don't have to do that at all. You
Yeah.
don't have to do that at all, but I better see some differences when they're showing these training camp videos and we're listening to everybody talk about how you look. They better be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Ooh, Tolbert is explosive. Them routes look crisp. I mean, he looked different." We better see it, Tolbert, because the routes last year were god awful. But I think
Yeah.
that this is good for Joe Milton and Brooks because they're going to be the people working together. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, Milton's going to be the one. If Brooks is going to make the team, it's going to be through Milton. It's not going to be through
Yeah.
Dak because majority of the preseason is going to go to Milton, Greer, and then Brooks and
Mingo.
Mingo, and
Yeah.
Thornton, and all of those guys.
And I think, and just another quick point about Brooks. I think it was a couple of years ago where, of course, before I think they had brought in Brandon Cook. I think it might have been when they did go to Oregon. I think Brooks was talking about how he started to try to, or at least try to build that off field relationship with Dak Prescott, trying to get in a little bit more practicing sessions with him. I think he had a one-on-one interview with Miss Nicole Hutchinson at one point in the season, talking about how Dak was able to kind of give him a few pointers, on and off the field, and how he was trying to. I kind of compared it to the relationship that Tolbert and Dak had at the time. I thought that Brooks was kind of trying to follow the same trajectory. I just think that, like you said, by the time the season came, Dak was trying. Well, like we mentioned earlier, Dak was trying to play catch up so much with CD. Kind of playing with other players. I think he just kind of fell off by the wayside. So I think he might. Not saying he might try again, but I think he may have a little bit of that background, maybe a little bit of upper hand of maybe some of the guys in the room as far as that relationship with Dak, and maybe a little bit more rapport established than maybe a Mingo, who I know they're going to give a shot to, but maybe more so than a Mingo, or maybe some more of these newer guys that are actually going to be in the room. Maybe some of these rookies. I'm saying I think Brooks, maybe even have a I don't want to say over Flournoy, because I think Flournoy will still get a fair chance, but I just think based on some of the comments I heard from Brooks, kind of having a little bit more of an off-field relationship with Dak Prescott, that could give it, and like you mentioned earlier, him throwing a little bit more with Joe Milton, maybe some of those snaps may be helpful in preseason.
Yeah, because I believe that he's one. I believe all of those guys are on the hot seat because we don't treat low round draft picks anymore like your spot is safe.
Facts.
We do not. If we pick you like in the 6th or 7th round, your spot is not guaranteed. It's not safe. Not even as a rookie. We will cut you
Right.
2 years in a row, and I think we're going to do it again this year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Brooks, Flournoy, even though you just got drafted last year, I feel like the only person that the Joneses will be real skeptical to cut is Mingo, and that's just because they want to be right by him, and they traded a 4th round pick for him. But Flournoy, Brooks, someone says Turpin on the hot seat. We were supposed to talk a little bit about Turpin getting arrested. Right. Turpin did get arrested this past week, I think. Yeah, this last week.
Over the weekend. I think it was Sunday or something like that.
Yeah, he ended up getting arrested. He had weed and he was speeding. I'm like, why are we always speeding? Speeding.
Right.
He had weed in the car. He had a gun. Pretty much the same thing that Sam Williams had when he got caught like 2 off seasons ago or whatever. I think it was 2 years in a row he got caught speeding. I think. Yeah. Sam Williams. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Probably. So it's like with Turpin. I mean, I haven't spoken about it because I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's weed and NFL players, people with money. They have guns, you know what I'm saying? Because they hear and see how these rappers and entertainers just was walking around unarmed and got. So now should he have that gun registered and legal? Yes, there's no reason for him not to have it. He's in Texas, but who knows? Maybe he's got some issues on his record where he can't legally carry. I don't know. But I'm hoping that he doesn't face suspension. Sam Williams and them didn't ever face suspension for that. So I'm hoping that Turpin don't face no suspension. I don't think that he's on the hot seat. Even if he do get suspended, I don't foresee it being too long. And I don't think he's going to be on the hot seat just because of how much the coaching staff, the team value him. It was just like a mistake. And that's the first mistake that he's done since he's been here. He's been with us.
Right. I think going into his, I think he just got resigned. So I think going to his 4th year, 5th year.
Yeah, it's got to be like
At least
3rd, 4th, or 5th year he's been with us. So I don't see this. I don't see. He said Sam did get suspended.
Oh, he did get suspended.
How long did he get suspended?
Maybe the first year.
Sam Williams got suspended.
He was hurt.
I don't remember that, but maybe he did. He may get suspended. I don't know. Hopefully, it's not for too long. I don't remember Sam Williams getting suspended because Kelvin Joseph didn't even get suspended.
Yeah,
for the murder charge. So I don't remember him suspended, but maybe he did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's on the hot seat regardless. Because like I said, I think he means a lot to the team. I think it's just a mistake. People are like, how is Shotty gonna handle it? I mean, talk to him, sit him down, tell him don't stop speeding and don't carry a legal gun in your car. And if you're gonna do it, then don't be speeding to where the police can pull you over. Like, let's make smarter decisions here. We gotta make smarter decisions. But
and I don't think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I don't think it's a reflection. I know a lot of people are saying, what's Shotty gonna do with our players buying in and this, that, and third. And I don't think it's a reflection of the organization or it was a July 4th weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like Star said, these players need protection. I mean, I know it's kind of unrelated, but I don't know if you guys watch the news, but a lot of these celebrities, athletes, their houses have been getting hit, by being robbed and while they're gone for the weekend. Or I think Patrick Mahomes, I think Travis Kelce got hit around around playoff time. I think they said Dak Prescott, one of his houses got hit around the time. So I mean, it's like Sis said, it's not unheard of for players to be carrying gun. Like she said, it's definitely the right thing to have it registered, but I don't think it's a reflection of the organization or what he thinks of of his job, or he's not taking it serious, or
right.
So I think
nothing to do with Shotty. Like that has nothing to do with him. Like what? I think that yeah, and you were right, Kelvin. Sam did get suspended for 3 days, so Turpin may get 3 games, not days. So Turpin may end up getting suspended. But at the end of the day, football players, basketball players, like they all do things that they wild out and they get in trouble for. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means that I made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Some of us get caught. Some of us don't. You know what I'm saying? So, or some of us face harsher penalties and stuff like that than the other person. But I think that when it comes to like who's on the hot seat, but we already talked about that. Not Sam Williams, Jalen Brooks, Flournoy,
Mingo. Well, actually, I think Mingo get more of a chance, but he'll probably be 4.
Like if he's awful, I would feel like he's still competing. I feel like those guys are really competing for a roster spot. Turpin, I don't think Turpin gonna be on the team. We just paid him. We're not cutting him. Like he can be on the team. Pickens for sure, CD for sure. So everybody else, no guarantees. No guarantees at all.
Yeah, guys like Marino Cropper, Campbell, and it's crazy. Brought in Pickens. I forgot all about Paris Campbell. Bringing brought in.
Paris Campbell. I haven't heard nothing.
Yeah, I think guys like that. May not. Won't see a roster this season.
Exactly. Them guys
sis.
They're on the practice squad. They're gonna be on the practice squad.
Right.
And I think, that's a good point. She said they have to have a real conversation with him because of what he has in arrest history. Get a driver and have him carry for you. Yeah, probably, or something like that. They're going to have to figure it out. Because I think Turpin, he has had some issues. I think he had issue with like domestic violence in the past. And so that's what, so he probably has like some charges where he can't just legally carry. So but hopefully he's not, he ain't into too much trouble, like legally and stuff like that. Or criminal, But we know Jerry can get him off right there. And if got away with murder, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Okay.
Not murder, but being a murder accomplice.
Right.
Like I'm pretty sure Turpin can get out of this alive. But moving on, we can transition to end the show to talk about
the
running back battle. We can show him because this guy has been forgotten. I ain't gonna lie, I did watch his film, wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? Over there in Carolina, the film was ass. But that doesn't mean that a player can't get better. Sometimes it's just a system. Sometimes players just don't play as hard because they know, like, you favor this guy over me or whatever. These coaches be out here be having favorites. So there's a lot of factors that play into why Sanders just did not work out. How he was great with Philly and then he got paid to Carolina and he just has not looked good over there. But this picture's been scrolling around. I said, ooh, when I saw it, I'm gonna share my screen. When I saw it, I said, she said, isn't he in court in August? Yeah, he may be in court in August. These people, what that got to do with anything? Very powerful man in Texas. I'm pretty sure he knows every judge, he probably knows these district attorneys and everything like that. So
yeah. And these why think he playing the Netflix release in that same month. You know what I'm saying? To kind of deter from Jerry know what he's doing.
Exactly. Jerry know what he's doing. But anyway, this picture been swirling around Miles Sanders. He looks massive. I ain't gonna lie. He looks he looks completely.
That ain't the same Miles Sanders they brought in when he first interviewed, when he first signed him. That is not the same. My thoughts is, kind of going back. I have some notes here. Going back and watch some of the interviews, like Deuce Vaughn. And I even seen, with some of the younger running backs talking during the orientation. Maffa and Jaden Blue, of course. They're talking about. They talked a lot about the veteran presence in the room. They talked about Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, just kind of giving them nuggets here and there. And I think this kind of made me think about like another, subject. The coaching staff bringing in a former, first round picks, former guys who held, were held in high regard in their positions, like Miles Sanders, who does have a Super Bowl with Philly. Javonte Williams, who was a former first round pick. Kind of my thoughts are, I wonder if these guys can kind of get back to some of their expectations. These guys, if Miles Sanders, if Javonte Williams can get back to who they were, before they went through injury, like Williams, or like Sanders, who maybe lost his spot to a younger guy, or maybe just kind of come back on the depth chart. So I'm just wondering if, he has that in his mind. This picture kind of tells me that Miles Sanders is not saying he's not worried about the rest of the guys in the room, but I think he's trying to prove himself to the organization and really trying to prove himself to himself. You have two, maybe even three younger running backs in the room. They drafted two. You still have Hunter Lipke, who I don't know who's going to be a tight end, halfback, mix or anything like that. Of course, you have Javonte Williams, who, we've been hearing a lot ourselves in Cowboys Nation. He's going to be number one. He's going to be the starter. We have a number one guy, who's going to, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people have been saying that Miles Sanders may be the guy that may fall by the wayside, or he's going to be one fighting for a job, or, although, he's the one, he's maybe he's the sole guy in the room that has the ring. You feel me? So he may be taking that personally, saying that guys, that Cowboys Nation, or maybe some of the guys in the room, of course, competitive, looking to take his spot or try to take a spot from him. You can look at it that way, but I think for at least for me, in my opinion, I think he's feeling that, hey, I need to, prove myself. Not that I haven't proven anything, but hey, I'm the one in this room with a ring. So let me show, let me have some, show my veteran presence to show exactly what I can prove.
He don't got no ring.
He didn't ring. Oh, he didn't have a
Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl, but he don't got no ring. But he is the only. No, you good, sis. I think he's the only one, unless Javonte Williams has one too. I'm pretty sure Miles Sanders is a former Pro Bowler. I think he's a one-time Pro Bowler. I think. So he is the only. Him and Javonte Williams really are the only people that have. What's the word? They're the only people that really have like tenure, previous status.
Yeah.
Here in this league, because behind them you got Deuce, Phil Maffa, and Jaden Blue. And so each of these guys, I would like to show too, Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa. I gotta check my bookmark. Okay, here, I got this from Jaden Blue. But they both been, because I saw one from Phil Maffa too. Let me see if I saved.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is what the coaches told them to work on, because in previous years, Let me get so.
Let
Now
me
I
know if
haven't
you have it.
seen
But
Malcolm.
I had the math. I have the Maffa one favorited. If you don't have it.
Okay, go to uh-oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my computer just I don't know what the hell happened, but here's the one with Jade and Blue. Y'all know that can you
Oh, there we go.
okay, I stopped sharing. Can you share it? My computer's oh maybe that's why there's like a public safety thing going off. I'm like, what's going on? My computer just glitched out. Okay, maybe I can now. Okay, this is the Phil Maffa. But you see how
Yeah.
they're all working on these like agility like drills. And this is the first time I've seen like the whole group, or at least two people out of the group running like this. Like
Yeah.
Brandon, haven't seen no videos from Javante Williams, haven't seen any videos from Deuce. We know Deuce was out there with them at the DAC Georgia camp thing. But
Yeah.
you know, the fact that Moff was working on this and now you see Blue working on this, I feel like both of them were told, you know, okay, what can you be doing, you know, leading up to camp, and they could be working on these agility drills because you see Maffa hitting it, but then you look at and then I have the one for Blue. Hopefully it'll let me. It won't glitch out again. I can show y'all.
Okay.
But Blue is doing the same thing. Looks like he's out at the University of Texas. Y'all know that's where he went to school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and why you
Yeah.
okay, good, you got it. All right, bet. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, it's here. I don't know why my stuff is tripping, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't know. Tripping big time. Okay, let me see if I can play it. It's so weird. If not, I think Brandon Laurie has it on his page too.
Okay, let me see if I can bring it up right quick.
Bring it up because I don't know what the hell my computer's doing, but it's being weird right now. But yeah, it looks like all of them is really working on these like types of agility drills and stuff like that. I feel like that's great for Maffa as well as for Blue. You know, people like to say Maffa needs to play tougher, but Maffa himself on not just being a bruiser because he's 6'1" and huge. You know what I'm saying? He likes to also have that.
Right.
We saw him before. Uh-oh.
Yeah, the footwork. That's what I like.
Right. And that's something that we kind of knocked him for it. Like, listen at all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Good. So I mean, I'm glad that these are what these guys are working on because if you watch the film, this is what they needed help on. Now, obviously, Maffa, you want him to play a little bit stronger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, be more of that bruiser. It'll be interesting to see, you know, how he comes in the training camp because I think they would like for him to be both. They would like for him to be agile, but also be a bruiser. They would like for him to be like an Ezekiel Elliott type, where Zeke was shifty and quick and stuff like that, and had the ball carrier moves, but he also was that bruiser that I'm gonna fall for. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna lean on you. So we'll see if Maffa can, translate to that. We know that he was real good at Clemson, ended up getting hurt, his numbers tanked. But before he got hurt, he was averaging like 133 yards a game. So we'll see. But I do think that obviously in the running back room, we put Miles Sanders on the thumbnail and said hot seat for sure, because you're the forgotten man, as Sis said at the beginning. No one is talking about Miles Sanders. Everybody's saying camp body. Camp body, he gonna be good, and that's because his film in Carolina was not good. It looks like he's completely lost a step. But and we know he got jacked, but I don't know how great getting jacked is for speed and agility and stuff like that. So I don't know what they asked him to train on, but I do know that he's gonna have to put in that work to make this roster. Because I think that you have Javonte Williams, which everybody's saying like he's for sure a roster lock. Then you have your two young backs that I don't believe that the front office is going to cut because they have very high hopes for them. And if they do cut them, it ain't going to be Blue because we know that was like Will McClay's pick. So they're not going to cut Blue. So you have two more spots. I think they said they were going to have four. And Deuce is on the hot seat as well. Yeah. But I feel like they would put Miles Sanders before because Deuce has more versatility, and you really don't have any other speedy backs on this team other than Blue. Because Javonte Williams is not a speed back; he's a power back. Miles Sanders, I don't really know what the hell he is, to be honest. He used to be like an elusive back, but now he's slow and he's got massive. So I don't even know if he's gonna be able to move. We'll be able to move with that weight on him. I really don't know.
That's got to be your kind of style of play. And this kind of a quote I saw I seen from Moffitt during the rookie orientation. One thing that's kind of stood out to me. He said, "quote My size and my quickness at my side." Well, I'll take it back. Kyle Yeomans asked him what he thinks he can bring, to the running back room. He actually mentioned that you like to be a bruiser, you like to be a guy kind of runs over people, running down the middle. And he actually said, Moffitt said, "quote My size and my quickness at my size, being able to pass pro and catching the ball out of the backfield." Utilizing who I am as a bigger guy, but still being able to move. So just to your point, sis, that's kind of the player who we saw that at Clemson. We saw his film, and even he said to himself that he loves contact. So he loves running downhill. You know what I'm saying? So we potentially have two maybe bruisers in that room, Javonte Williams, Phil Maffa. So like you said, you got to find. And there's also another quote from Deuce Vaughn. I'll say in a second that I think not just, it doesn't, at least for me, doesn't necessarily pertain to the running back, but I think it kind of speaks to the message that the coaches kind of want to bring to the players. Deuce Vaughn mentioned this about Schottenheimer. He said, quote, he said Schottenheimer had this thing called players over plays. He wants to put his players in a position to be successful rather than just putting guys in certain places for plays. He wants to dive into your strengths and let you go out there and play. And it was kind of an end quote. And he was kind of answering a question about how he thinks maybe the game has kind of gone through an evolution, how he thinks, with his dad being a coach and things like that, and maybe how coaches kind of undertake, of course, it's a new, football stay the same, Shadi really says that a lot during the offseason, that football is football, but it's really how, the situations you put your players in, the play calling, the schematically, is what these coaches, that's why I think it's been a lot of emphasis on coaching, the coaching test that they brought in this year, because it's really, how can these coaches mold the players how can the players mold to the, mold to the scheme, you feel me? So I think that quote really stands out, but, I think Eberflus kind of mentioned along with that he brought into, putting these players in the correct situation so that way they can play full speed without really having to think. Schottenheimer said, we don't want players having to think, what do I do? What do I do here? We want, concise. We want you to have the playbook down. We want you to come in ready so we can kind of hit the ground running. So I like, and kind of getting back to the running back room, Maffa has, he has the size, but he also can be agile. Like you mentioned, Jaden Blue, has the footwork, kind of a not just his speed back, but he can also catch up the backfield as well. So we have the running backs. We have Deuce, like you mentioned. He has different skills. He can. I think me and my dad talk about this a lot. He could potentially maybe start taking maybe kickoffs or maybe punt returner. You know what I mean? So just
last year he was working on it with Turpin, and then they didn't let him return any kicks at all.
They were doing that, I think, but maybe not a lot with Topher, but somewhat with Topher. Well, you know what I'm saying? So, that's something my dad brought up a lot. Why not put a Deuce Vaughn back there? You know what I'm saying? You're kind of struggling to get him on the field as far as Mike McCarthy's scheme, but struggling to get him on the field. Why not get the ball in his hand, like we were talking about with Turpin kind of years ago? Exactly. Get the ball in their hands so they kind of be ready and prep for that moment when they are in those big shining moments.
Absolutely, I agree with you, sis. And I think like when it comes to somebody like Deuce Vaughn, you can cut him if you want to. He's 6'4", 6'5". I mean, not 6'5", he's 5'5". Little legs or whatever, but you don't have, unless you're gonna go out there and trade for like a Travis Etienne or some other back that has some type of like speed and change of pace. Like you don't have anybody else in the running back room that can do that besides Blue. It's not even a true running back. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Receiving, he's a former wide receiver converted to running back. So that's what I'm really wondering. Like, you can cut Deuce, but why would you cut Deuce when he's the only other guy? Unless, like I said, you're going to trade for somebody. Now, if you trade for somebody, then yes, I believe you're going to cut Deuce at that point. Or you're going to cut Miles Sanders, or you're going to cut both. But I think right now, and honestly, like Deuce Vaughn, like you said, sis, Mike McCarthy didn't believe in him, so he just never got a chance. Like
that part, exactly.
Never got a chance to do shit. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see if Brian Schottenheimer believes in him and is willing to really give him a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll see if he gets a chance. If he don't get a chance this year, then I do see him I do see them cutting him because they just feel like they don't have a place for him on this team. But I really do think that, it would make sense to carry 4 running backs, and I think you need to carry 4 running backs. You have a starter, then you have a backup that kind of replicates what they can bring, for injury and all that other type of stuff.
And you kind of give a boost with bringing in Connor Riley as a former coach and saying bringing in
now kind of specialized. Riley, you done added Cooper Beebe, who's his guard. Like, I feel like give him a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, give him a chance. Let's see. You know what I'm saying? Because it's 2 years in a row. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. The mic did kind of frizz up a little bit, but I can still hear you.
I don't know if y'all
You said you can hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear me. I'm gonna go out and come back in. Yeah, let me go out and then I'm gonna come back in.
Okay. All right, while sis goes out, she's gonna hold on, let me get this down right quick, you guys. She's gonna go out right quick and then come back in. But just like you were saying, hopefully we can kind of find ways to kind of utilize guys like Deuce Vaughn. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, at least in my opinion, I feel like we can kind of use Deuce as a way, because he can do multiple things: catch the ball out of the backfield. I'm saying, like I mentioned earlier, maybe take punt returns, kick returns. But we really want to have guys who can we can have multiplicity. Guys that we can be multiple as opposed to a Miles Sanders, who maybe be a one type player. Can you hear me, sis?
Hello.
Yeah, you still there? I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you. I don't know, for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
Gosh. I'm not sure why all of a sudden my sound just went out. Okay, I'm gonna try to leave and come back in again and see if it helps.
All right, sorry. We're just having some technical difficulties tonight, you guys. I'm not sure if it's a storm because it's kind of storming up here my way too, here on the East Coast. So hopefully we can kind of get this kind of show rounded off for you guys. And then if you guys do me a favor, let me know if you can hear me. And then when Star just come back in, just let us know in the chat just right quick if you can hear her as well. As we try to get things going for you guys. But I know, like today we talked about wide receivers, running backs, just some of the position group battles that we may see coming up here in camp. And I really don't think that, like I think we mentioned earlier, we some of the top guys that we know as far as wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, of course, Jalen Tolbert, Jonathan Mingo. I think those would be at least, the starting four, the top four. I think that those last two spots, maybe up for grabs for, guys like Brooks Flournoy, Marino Cropper, maybe some practice squad guys, I don't know, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think, maybe like a guy like Paris Campbell may not have a great of a chance, but as far as running backs, we talked about, that position pretty much being up for grabs. Like we just talked about Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke, as we know, both of those guys were there for Dak's trip. Okay, Stephen White says he can hear me. Hopefully we get Sis coming back on here soon. All right, yeah, that should go right there.
Okay, I can hear y'all now. I don't know what the heck happened.
Okay, bet. Yeah, JB said Illuminati. I don't know what was going on. I'm glad you able to get it back going. I'm like, what's going on? It was just we were just rocking too.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but okay, I'm glad I'm back.
Yeah, I was just summing up what we was talking about. How we talk about, at least in my opinion, I think for our receiver, we know maybe the top 3-4 guys, maybe not the exact order, but of course we know Pickens, Lamb, Pickens, maybe 3 and 4, maybe switch, maybe Tolbert and Mingo or vice versa. I think, they decided to maybe keep 6 or 7 wide receivers. I think those last 2 spots will be going up for grabs as far as, going into camp. And then as far as running back, I think it's a little bit more open. Then we talked about, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke, Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa, about 6 guys in there, maybe 7 guys. I'm not missing anybody, but I think that's a little bit more of an open forum for these guys. Maybe I think that's why it's very important, for guys like Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams to still hold strong. There may be some other positions. I know we'll get to them before camp, but maybe some other positions where guys maybe know that their spot is solidified. But I think as far as running back, I think the veterans could give a little push for the younger guys, and I think, at least for this room, I think going down the season, I think we'll see more of the stars kind of, show themselves. I think we'll have stars to start the season, but I think the guys will give maybe a little bit more of I don't want to say room for error, but a little bit more room for competition as far as to see maybe who the starting guy will be to maybe week 2, week 3, because we do have a pretty, strong schedule. So maybe by week 2, week 3, because we don't have a lot of time to play around, I think they'll start to see, how these guys are able to run, and maybe even early as preseason, just with it being an open form, I think we'll see a lot of these guys maybe play. I don't know how many snaps we'll see, maybe for guys like Williams. Maybe Williams may not play, but maybe Sanders may not get a ton of snaps. But I think the younger guys will, get a lot of snaps. But I think we may even see maybe as early as preseason, maybe just who are maybe for sure stars will be. That's just my opinion, because I think the running back room is just a little bit more open for competition.
I agree with that. I think that, and somebody said Holden. I totally forgot about Holden.
Right.
He's a guy that can really push for that wide receiver force as well, because he is a coach favorite. Coach Junior Adams went out and got him because he played for him at Oregon. So that is a wild card where I feel like he could potentially make this team. And I think, because remember we talked about last week, there should be somebody that makes this team that we didn't 100% think would made it or beat out the other person, but they did. But, that's the only way to know if true competition exists, because if everybody makes it who you just assume who would make it, like, was there really a competition? So I definitely think they probably carry about like 6 or 7 wide receivers. Probably 6, and they're probably going to carry about 4 running backs. That's what I think. I think they're going to carry 4 running backs and 6 wide receivers, possibly. Okay. And so when you look at that, you got CeeDee Lamb, like you said, George Pickens, Tolbert will be on the team. Probably Turpin for sure, Mingo. Yeah. And so really, that other spot, so that's where the guys like Brooks, Flournoy, Holden. I forgot we got that kid from Texas Tech, Joshua Kelly. Like, right. Yeah, I think his name is Joshua Kelly. Like those, all Moreno Cropper, Jalen Moreno, all of those guys. That's where they're going to be competing at. Yeah, because those are guys that we're not even sure if we're going to make the team. Everybody else, I don't know. Yeah. The top 5 guys that I name, I don't know where they're going to be playing, if they're even going to be active. Like Mingo, I don't know if you're gonna be active game day, but think that they're probably going to allow you to make this team just for the simple fact, like I said, that we put the 4th round pick. But hey, I don't know. I was Mingo at that camp with that.
And that's a good point. I don't know either.
The Mingo. So I don't even know if Mingo was out there. I think all of those things, when participation in voluntary things are going to hold a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think
it's a packed room. It's a very packed room.
Very, very packed room. So, and I believe Dak's input obviously is going to have a say on who's going to get on that field. So, yeah, and then I think with running backs, I really think they only going to carry 4. And so right now, that's the room where it's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I know for sure Williams and for sure Blue, but the other 2 spots, I don't know. I really don't know. Somebody said Hunter Lupke could be on the. I know he was out there with Dak and them, and I think Hunter more of a tight end. They see him as a fullback tight end hybrid than a running back. So I think that he's in a different category than the running backs, even though he's a fullback. But they, like I said, they see him doing more fullback tight end things than I'm gonna actually be running the ball, unless it's like a.
Yeah, and he can catch the ball too. I think they may see him as like a Swiss Army knife, or maybe even more of a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly, that's
dudes,
because he can play behind the line and stuff like that. That's why they see him more of a tight end. Well, at least that's how the previous regime saw him. I don't know how him, so that would be interesting. We just have to see, at camp, who is he training with? Who is the group that he's primarily with? Is he with the running backs or is he with the tight ends? And I think that will pretty much give us our answer. But anyway, I think we hit all topics today. I think talked about these guys that we think are going on the hot seat, and they're gonna have to make something shake. It looks like they're training, but I mean, training don't matter. I mean, training matters.
Right.
It's about what you do on the field. Everybody knows that. So it's gonna be real interesting to see how these battles shake out. But we really appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Again, we really love y'all.
I love you.
Love you guys. Really appreciate you guys so much for y'all's continued support. Twattman, we saw that you came in late here, but we really appreciate y'all's continued support. We ask that y'all will please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to our YouTube channels if you haven't already. Mine is Stargate. I think since you have the banner at the bottom.
Yeah, actually, thank you for reminding me. Let me put it up right quick.
Yeah, but mine is Stargazer Sports. You see Mickey's there, Cravin Cowboys. So y'all please subscribe to, and it's just Stargazer Sports Media. You can put it in there, but I think Stargazer, it just put in Stargazer Sports, it'll pop up. But we really appreciate you guys so much for y'all's love and support. We ask that y'all continue to support us, donate to our cash apps, so that we can continue upgrading our look, our equipment, and everything like that. We really appreciate it. We're trying to get some things upgraded as we go into the 2025 season. So really appreciate y'all. Love y'all, and hope to see y'all again next week.
Yes, really appreciate you guys joining us. I just want to give a special shout out to you, Star. And I saw your last couple of videos, and I saw your one about Candace Parker pretty much went viral. So I just want to give you a special shout out to you, because I just love when you just give your cold takes. Like, look, I don't give a F who watching, who not watching, but when you be straightforward and just give me your takes, I don't care what you're talking about, football, basketball, whatever. Sis, like your videos be on point. So I love that shit went viral, and I love your point. Nice quick video, but you really hit a lot of good points, and I just love that people loved it. And I just, I think that was really fire. So shout out to you. Make sure you guys go check out that video, please.
I appreciate
that joint was on fire. I loved your last couple of videos. So shout out to you.
I wasn't even expecting it to go viral, but I appreciate that. Y'all,
they needed, the streets needed it. The streets needed it. That's why it went viral. That's why.
I appreciate it. I'm covering, y'all gonna see different content. This was always the plan. That's why I named myself Stargazer Sports and not Go Cowboys or whatever, because I knew I always probably wanted to cover more Dallas sports.
Yeah.
So I am covering the WNBA, specifically like Dallas Wings, and then also I'm gonna be covering Chicago Sky because my favorite player is Angel Reese. Y'all can see her, she up here.
Yeah.
So I will be covering like Chicago Sky and like Angel Reese and stuff like that. So if you like that type of content, feel free to tune in. But if not, y'all know I'm always gonna do my Cowboys content. Is my first love. Is why I started doing content. So that's never going to change. I was just watching Dak Prescott highlights last night, and I was like, "Woo! I'm getting the chills. I'm excited."
Right.
You know,
It's close, sis. It's close.
we in the dead season, so it ain't much going around with football. So I'm gonna cover what's active, but of course,
Yeah.
once training camp and everything, I'm gonna just be y'all just gonna be getting content from every different direction. You know what I'm saying? Because we still gonna be in WNBA season when we get to training camp and all of that stuff, and on through till beginning of the season. So I'm gonna be doing both, but I really appreciate that, sis. That meant a lot.
No, I had to, man, because that was really fire. I'm really glad it really got out there because that was a really really good take of yours for real.
I appreciate that. But
Yeah, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Thank you for your time, sis. Thank you so much for doing the show this evening. We will catch you guys next week, hopefully with some more news and notes, and hopefully some exciting news. Going into camp, and of course some more position battles going forward. Hopefully, be able to switch to the defensive side and get out some of these battles. But thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate you. Love you, sis. Love you guys. We got you guys next week.